focus on one concept today, and that's
Okay.
going to be the mindset that I had, that I've always had in this business that really allowed me to grow my practice to where 63% of it came from my past clients and current clients.
Okay.
That's not bad when you look at the way that my business was structured, and more often than not, it was just me and maybe one or two people. So what my mindset is it's called the triangle of trust.
Okay.
I need you to understand that this mindset is how I built my practice because it was what worked for me. The idea behind it is really simple. Every time that I met a realtor or a referral partner or an affiliated relationship, my number one goal in meeting them was not to earn business from them. It was simply to make them look good to whomever they put in front of me. I didn't care so much about the mortgage as I cared about making them look good. So the idea behind it is really simple. If you and I have a great relationship because I'm meeting your needs and I'm delivering on the expectations that you have and I'm doing what's right by you, then undoubtedly you're going to go back to whomever it was that put you in touch with me. So let's say, for example, it was Kevin Broughton.
Okay.
My goal is to get you through our conversations to do nothing but go back to Kevin and say thank you. That builds your relationship with Kevin. It amplifies it. It makes my relationship with you stronger because I'm delivering on what your goals, wants, and needs are. But the byproduct is that now my relationship with Kevin is significantly more amplified. I'm not going after the loan per se. I'm going after the view or the reputation or the image that you now have of Kevin. And by doing that, I believe that I created what was called a relationship amplification. I believe that that message, every time I spoke it to any referral partner that I worked with, it was a message of me caring, me delivering at a high level of service, me always putting my clients' needs before mine, and me honoring the relationship without me having to say it like everybody else does. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
So the triangle of trust mindset was really this, and it was really broken down to a very set script every time I met with a client. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, thank you for meeting with me, but before we get started, I think it's vitally important that you know who I am on this side of the table. I'm going to learn so much about you and your private lives, more than you probably share with anybody else, so I think it's only fair that you learn a little bit about me. My number one goal here today isn't to do a mortgage for you. Ultimately, my goal is to give you education, to find out what your goals, wants, and needs are, and to help you understand what choices you have. See, I don't believe that I'm the best loan officer for every person in the world. I just believe I'm the best person for you to talk to when deciding what your best loan options are. At the end of the day, whether we choose to work with each other or not, I only have one requirement from you, and in the event that we do work together, I'll have two requirements from you. If we choose not to work together, and whatever the reasons might be, I just want you to know that my number one goal is to have you go back to Kevin and say thank you. If that's something that we can agree to, I'd love to continue this conversation. The next one is if we decide to work together, not only am I going to need you to go back to Kevin, which you will anyway because you're going to love what it is that I do, but I'm also going to need you to become an advocate of my business and refer me to the people you care about. And this is why. My number one concern is to make you so happy with the way that my process goes for you that you'll be compelled to not only want to go say thank you to Kevin, but you're also going to want to tell the people in your life that you care about me and my team. Is that something that you can agree to before we move on?
Absolutely.
That is the foundational piece that you, Holly, have to have with every client relationship that you start, or whoever enters into that client relationship in the beginning has to lay the framework for that conversation, because all the other communications, all the other contact, if you're going to try to leverage the relationship to produce not only the desire or the compelling willingness to want to refer you, you've got to be prepared to set the stage so that they come to terms with the relationship before you start talking about mortgages. See, the mortgage part of what we do is just it's the result of being in a relationship with me. What I'm after is two things: your willingness to go back to the referral source and say thank you, but also to go to the people in your life that you care about. Now, the subconscious part of this, there's a lot of NLP going on in this conversation, because when I say I don't want you to go refer me all the people you know, because in this day and age, we know way too many people. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
We know hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds because of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's not what I'm asking for. Back in 1995, 98, 2000, totally different story. It was who did you
Right.
know? I'm more concerned with the people you care about, because here's what happens. I believe that your conversion rate of your past clients and your current clients' referrals are significantly higher than those of the ones from your realtors and some of your other partners. It's only because the people who refer you typically refer you people they care about. That's why they're calling you in the first place, because there's a relationship between those two people that's strong enough to take their advice to pick up the phone and call me.
Okay.
And the mindset behind it is really basic. Are you at your computer?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to turn on my screen and I'm going to show you what this is my logo that I give that was on my business cards and in all my documents. So when a client sat down with me, I literally drew this triangle out and put their name at the top left, their referral source on the top right, and me at the bottom. And I brought it up to their attention because it's a visual story that everybody can relate to. And at the end of that dialogue, at the end of that presentation, at least that section of it, the client understood that I cared more about them than I cared about anything else, because I defined for them what was at stake.
Are you sending it to me?
I can send you my logo, absolutely.
Well, I didn't know because you asked me if I was in front of my computer, so I didn't know if I was supposed to be looking at something.
No. I'm sharing my screen with you. Did you see it?
No, I don't have. I mean, I don't see anything.
Got it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yep. It's because I just called in. I didn't hit the link. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Sorry. It's been
Don't
a
sweat
day.
it. No, I totally understand. What I'll do is I'll email you my logo, but you'll get the.
No, I'm seeing it now. I'm launching it. That's why I was like, why is he wanting? Oh God, you're gonna get off the phone and be like, "This is who y'all think is so."
Nope,
awesome.
I'm gonna get off the phone and be like,
really?
I finally met the person that mirrors me. I mean, I'm gonna be totally honest.
Because I'm like, okay, I see it now. Thank you. Okay, proceed. Now I'm here.
So the message becomes, that's why they choose to work with me. It isn't because of mortgage rates, fees, process,
right?
And it sets the stage so that you and I both know that this process is imperfect. More often than not, the loan doesn't go as predicted. But this agreement, and that's really what this is, it's an agreement that if we choose to move forward, they're going to understand why they're working with me, and it has very little to do with the rates and fees. And that's really what I got into. I know that your market's totally different, but the truth is that if you're going to position yourself to be a referable practice, a referable mortgage practice, you have to spend more time educating the consumer on why they're working with you. And if you tell every consumer that you're the cheapest rate in town, that's how they're going to refer to you. Because what happens when a referral comes in, my number one question with every client was, so what did Kevin say about me that made you feel like you wanted to pick up the phone and call?
It's a good one.
And the beauty behind it is that now I'm listening to what their goals, wants, and needs are, and they don't even realize it yet. I'm figuring out what their language is. I'm figuring out what their expectations of me are. They said you were helpful, that you were educating them, and that you weren't a pressured person, and that you took them step by step through the process, and you fought for them, and you were a great consultant, and all these things. Things that you hear from your client, they start talking positively about you, which increases their level of excitement about even being in front of you without you having to talk about yourself, which makes the transition of getting them to recognize why they're in front of you so much easier. For the same reason that Kevin and I worked well together, I believe that birds of a feather flock together. And the reason why you're sitting in front of me is because you probably share very similar value systems and appreciations for what goes into this business. And I'm sure Kevin explained to you that those are some of the qualities about me. And the beautiful part about all this is that if I can do a great job for you, you're going to turn into an advocate like Kevin is. And my only
Right.
concern is that you do that. Now, the approach to this is totally different than transactions. You're not into transactions, because what you're trying to capitalize on is making current clients your raving fans, and then turning those raving fans from current clients eventually into past clients. And so case in point, this week alone, from Monday of last week to Monday of this week, I've been able to refer my wife 5 new purchase transactions from clients that I haven't marketed to since 2013. And to be honest, they've been solicited by the person that took over my database for the last 3 years, but yet they still pick up the phone and call me. And they call me because of the relationship, or at least the appearance of how much I cared about what was going on. And I delivered on that, or my team delivered on that. The reality is that I haven't managed my database for 3+ years, but yet people still remember me and remember that my business is 100% referred. And that's the message that I wanted them to remember. I didn't want them to remember about the fees, because nobody cares about that once
Right.
they're in
Now
the
everybody's
house.
selling the same thing.
Well, here's the reason that they ask that, is because the consumer doesn't know what they don't know. So the consumer simply asks those questions to help qualify whether or not you're capable of doing the loan, because they don't know any other questions to ask. So as a consultant, I hear the question of what are your fees, what are your rates, as more of a question of why should I use you? And my response is, you know what, Mr. Client, that's a really good question. Unfortunately, in my practice, it's about the 4th or 5th question we get to, but the first, 1 to 3, we really have to decide if we're going to be a good fit and if I'm going to be able to deliver on what your goals, wants, and needs are. And then I get into the triangle of trust. And so by the time that relationship agreement has been established, and it doesn't say that they're doing business with me, they just agree that if they do business with me, that these are the expectations I'm going to have of them. Which what turned it into was, now my team, every time they picked up the phone, they were trigger happy in the sense of every time they heard the word thank you, every time they heard the word, oh, thanks for the update, or I appreciate that, or that was awesome, my team was conditioned to respond with, hey, thanks for noticing. Doug and I count on you to refer the people to us that you care about. All we're asking is that you don't keep us a secret. Fair? And that constant message through the process, people they really get compelled, especially if you deliver on what you promise. Obviously you don't overpromise and you don't underdeliver, but you deliver a message that's managed, you know how to manage people's expectations. And if you do that effectively, and your team does, now you can understand the purpose of why we communicate. The reason to communicate is to disseminate information. The purpose is to get that thank you or the appreciation, and for us to reiterate that message, which is really the sole purpose of your team's mission every single day. You can hire anybody to disseminate information, but the reason your team is in place is because they possess the communication skills that are necessary to seek those opportunities out, capitalize on them, and to continue to push that message forward. And as they're having those conversations repeatedly, not robotically, not every time you pick up the phone, but when you seek out a way to get a client to say thank you, you approach your files at a different level. You're more engaged with them. You're more concerned about the details. You're more concerned about the perception. You're more concerned about how the file is moving along. My business, I narrowed it down into 5 points of contact that I dealt with my clients. Everything else was handled by my team. And during those 5 points of contact through the process, that's when I set the stage and leveraged the relationship, but then also my team found ways to seek out wows and thank yous. And if you really want to maximize your exposure, or as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, your brand, in order to expand your brand, you have to recognize that you're meeting with so many people a month that you literally can have an army of people out there talking about you if you simply told them what your language is.
Okay. Sorry, I'm writing. I know we're recording, but I'm still writing.
Is this making sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Does this
guess the
fit?
part that is at this moment not paralyzing, but how I'm having to wrap my head around it is, you know, I've got to master this. Then I have to work with my team to master it. And how do I build this in my plan with the current structure I have? Because I don't want to say it's unrealistic, but I'm trying to wrap my head around, okay, is this a conversation that I have to have with every single
You don't.
person until my,
You
okay.
don't. You don't. Every conversation, okay, so let's just put it in perspective of your team. You talk, or you or somebody on your team at the initial phone, there's an initial conversation that happens with every client that walks through your door, right?
No, but we can say it for hypothetical. I mean, sometimes I just get applications without even ever talking to them.
Okay. That'll be a decision on how you want to grow your practice. You don't have to do it with every client. It's more effective with people that you actually have a conversation with. If that ends up being the case, only work on the clients that are referred to you by, you know, your...
But, I mean, no, I think we do have to have policies and procedures in place. So we could just say if we've
Okay.
never talked to them and they apply online, then call and have the same conversation, because I do
Agreed.
think consistency is important. And if we say, okay, if they don't call, then if they do call, there's no way for me to track.
Good. Okay, I agree. If that's the case, you could have this script presented in a conversation that takes literally less than 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay, do you have the scripts written up, or is it something I need to re-listen to the call to write down?
I have it written down in a very informal way. I did it for somebody years ago, so I just typed out what I believed was a dialogue. But
Okay.
I think it gets the message across, and then I will also send you the replay to this as well. The message is really simple. This is your way of setting the stage for what you're trying to build. You have to get the agreement, or your team has to get this agreement up front. Otherwise, the impact of everything you do is going to be minimized, and you won't be able to capitalize on it as much, because your clients aren't going to have had that agreement with you. Now, some of them will refer you, but in my experience, it's only been about 20% of my database will, 20% of my clients will refer me just because that's who they are. But a larger percentage of them, close to 60%, won't refer me unless I've set the stage and that I ask.
Got it. Okay.
So every phone call that comes in, every conversation, instead of you going right from, hi, my name is, to, you know, W-2s, bank statements, 1003s, you know, tax returns, just take a second and go, hi, my name is. Before we begin, it's only fair that you learn who's on this side of the telephone. We have a simple business philosophy that we need your agreement to. You go back to the referral source and say thank you, and that you, if we deliver on what we promise, will become an advocate of our business and will refer us to the people you care about. Is that fair? You can use the triangle of trust mindset if you choose to. You can word it however you want. This worked for me because I'm like a crayon kind of kid. I draw a lot, and so having this triangle in front of me really made me convey the story to people in a much more meaningful way.
So if you're doing the triangle, it's the referral to you, or tell me how do the points connect if I'm looking at the triangle?
Take you, me, and Kevin. So Kevin would be
the
top
referral
right.
partner, or the referral source. Okay, got
The
it.
referral
Because that's
source.
when he refers it. Kevin refers you to me.
So you take that advice because you and Kevin have a great relationship. So that takes a lot
then
for
I
that
call
to happen in the
you.
first place. And
Got
then I
it.
say, my job is
Go
to get
back
you
to
to go back to
Kevin.
him and say thank you. I amplify our relationship. You go back to Kevin and your relationship with is amplified because you're like, wow, thank you so much. He did a great job. Kevin feels good he could help you out. You feel great because Kevin wanted what was best for you. And then by default, I've now amplified my relationship with Kevin without even having to talk to him.
Okay. Can you do one thing for me so I can wrap my head around this because I'm visual?
Sure.
Can you pretend like, let's say, for instance, I am the applicant. Can you do kind of give me a synopsis of how this would flow and how you're being a Raven fan of Kevin's, my realtor that referred me to you?
Mm-hmm.
So I can see kind of how you're raving about Kevin.
Oh, so yep, I think so. Let me take a stab at it. So Holly, you're calling me up and I say, Holly, thanks for calling. I appreciate the call. I'm super excited to get to know you. So you said Kevin referred you to me. What was it about your relationship with Kevin, or what did he say about me that made you want to pick up the phone and call?
He just said you were the best, that you could tell me what to do, and I mean, I have no idea where to even start.
Got it. You know what? That's what I love about Kevin. I worked really hard at his transaction to make him really, really happy. And so I wanted him to refer me to people that he cared about. And obviously he cares a lot about you. So let me tell you a little bit about my business and how it works. See, we don't know if we're going to work well together or not. I don't know what your goals, wants, and needs are. That's kind of why you're calling me. But regardless of what happens today, Holly, my number one concern is that you go back to Kevin and say thank you to him. And the reason is because it takes there's a lot of risk for Kevin and you when he says to call somebody and you don't know what to expect. You believe Kevin, you trust Kevin, but me talking to you, you don't know what I'm capable of. But when I sit here and I'm talking to you about this, my only concern is that you go back to Kevin and say thank you. That means that I'm doing not only what's right by you, but I'm also doing what's right by Kevin. And so Kevin's relationship with you becomes stronger because you've now taken his advice and he feels like he's helped you out. And my relationship with you becomes stronger because I'm working towards what your goals, wants, and needs are. And the cool part about it all is that my relationship with Kevin's actually amplified because I've made him look good in front of somebody he cares about. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what my goal is through this conversation is to really figure out what's important to you. Let's see if we can map out a plan. And if by chance, after we're done talking, it doesn't make sense for us to move forward, would you still at least go back to Kevin and say thank you?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And in the event that you and I do decide to work together, because I want to earn your business, I would love it if you eventually became an advocate of our team just like Kevin is. And by you referring to the people you care about, I promise that whenever you refer me to somebody, you'll get the same level of appreciation that you'll get to Kevin. You'll get that from whoever you refer to us.
Sounds great.
Done.
So it's just a shift of mindset.
And you know what it is? It's going away from the mindset that you're going out every single day having to pull business in from your relationships and proactiveness. That's not a bad plan, but with the number of people that you're speaking to and the goals that you have, you need every advantage possible. And right now, you have a tremendous resource in the active clients that you have, and it's been my experience that upwards of 60% of your client base at any given point in time, if asked to help you, would gladly do it if you've earned the right. And by earning the right, I mean you're getting thank yous and appreciations and wows from your conversations. And every time you do that, it becomes a reciprocal feeling, and eventually the client's going to feel so indebted to you that they're going to talk about you to the people around the water bottle, around the coffee table, around the dinner table, around the restaurant table. They're going to talk about you because they're buying a house. They're excited to talk to everybody about it. And when they ask who you're getting the mortgage through, they're going to go, I'm getting my mortgage through Holly. You know what? I got to be honest with you. She's amazing. If you are ready to buy a house or you're thinking about doing it, you got to talk to her. I promised her that I would refer her out, and I want you to talk to her. That's the kind of conversation that happens on a daily basis. And if you're closing 40 to 50 people a month, Holly, that means at least 29 to 30 of, about, let's say 25 of them are actively out there talking about you to the people they care about. The people they care about.
That'd be great. I could cut out my 100 agent calls on Mondays. Oh, my
God, Holly,
so
you have no idea the freedom it gives you. No idea. But it's a shift of mindset.
Now, I do have one question, just because I've been reading this book, and it talks about.
Which book?
Hold on, Mom. If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you. Holy crap. Be obsessed or be average. My mind went totally blank. And he talks about, he talks about over-promising and over-delivering.
Yep.
So, and that says what kind of like the whole, and I'll do exactly what you say, but do you think, is it better to say, I don't know if we're going to work together, or make that more powerful in selling them on, why would they not want to work with me?
I have always used the want versus need mindset.
Okay.
I tell my clients verbatim, and you heard me allude to it a little bit, it says, I want you to understand that my business, because it's relationship-based, I'm very selective on the people I work with. And the reason I'm selective is because I only want to work with people who I can help achieve their wants, goals, and desires, because the agreement that we have with each other is that if I'm able to do that, you're going to advocate me to the people you care about and go back to the person who referred you and say thank you. If I can't deliver on that for you, it makes no sense. In all actuality, it's actually counterproductive for me to take you on as a client, because at that point, I'm going to end up causing you more stress and anguish. And I believe that whenever anybody's unhappy, they tend to amplify the negativity on a lot greater fashion. So the goal today is really just to figure out if we're a good fit. So I'm going to ask you some questions and dig out what your goals, wants, and needs are, and I'm going to decide, or we're going to decide, if we're going to be a good fit.
Then do you ever go back to that conversation of if we're in a good fit, or do you just keep it positive from that point forward, as it assuming that you're a fit?
I always assume that they're a good fit until I read into something like I can tell that their tax returns are where I've probably fired a couple dozen of clients in my career for a variety of reasons, but I never want to be fired from my clients. So I always looked at the initial application as the deciding factor on whether or not I want to work with you.
Got it. Okay.
Are you going to be an advocate of my business? Are you going to be a person who I can count on to refer me? Am I going to be able to deliver on what the expectations are of you of me? I mean, are you so rate sensitive that you're going to shop me against guaranteed rate till 5 minutes before closing? Then I'm not a good fit.
Let it go.
Let it go. Am I going to be dealing with somebody that is so high maintenance that doesn't understand it and isn't trusting? I'm going to let it go. So the whole initial consultation is, am I going to turn this client into my team and let them deal with it? Or am I going to go, I need you to make a commitment to me, and I'm going to make a commitment to you. And if that commitment can be understood from the beginning, then everything you talk about after that just continues to build up that reciprocity that'll eventually turn into a referral. But there are clients that you don't want in your business. There are certain people I don't want in my practice. I kicked them out and said, you know what, even after a week's time when they called my team and harassed them about an appraisal, I'm like, you know what, Mr. Jones, we're out. We're going to bow out and tell you that we're probably just not a good fit for you. And every time you did the takeaway, you know what happens? They come groveling back because they believe that they're in the driver's seat. See, I want to work with you, but my business has been successful enough that I don't need to take on clients that aren't a good fit.
Got it.
That's a mindset of strength and positioning, not to be arrogant or to be condescending or to be rude. It's a position of, my business is it's so protected. The culture here, just like success is culture with regards to who we bring in as LOs. We're not going to take on every LO that comes to us because certain LOs just aren't a good fit. And the culture is so vital to the success of my team that I wouldn't even think of jeopardizing it for one loan transaction.
Got it.
That's why you make that agreement in the beginning, and you get into all that stuff before. Because as you progress through the conversation and you start figuring out that things are or are not as they seem, it gives you the right to go, this isn't a good fit. And they agree to it in the beginning, so there's no harm.
Gotcha. How can I incorporate that into, like, when I'm doing, like my agent calls? Like my message today on my agent calls, because that's where my business is today. I have to kind of, still capitalize on the opportunities because I've been paying marketing money. I mean, there's a lot of expense that's associated. So like today, my voicemail and phone burner, if they didn't answer, was just like, hey, it's Holly, just wanted to call and say good afternoon. I wanted to apologize to you because in 2000, and I just went on telling them that I was going to do a better job of staying in touch with them and help them grow. I was talking too much and then reading my script. But so then I just told them, I'm committed to calling you every Monday between now and the end of March. I'll follow up with you. I want to help you grow, so call me and let me know what I can do. And not asking for business. Now, I have to finish these because so many of them didn't answer. If they do answer, what should that dialogue be? The same dialogue?
My conversation with the agents is the same thing. Mr. Realtor, here's the mindset that I've begun to understand that's important. I'm a relationship amplifier. I believe in this thing called the triangle of trust. I believe that my number one goal is to help you with your clients and building great relationships that because it takes a lot to get a client to call you and for a realtor to get that client to come talk to me. So my job is to make you look good in front of your clients, and together as a partnership, we stand to do a better job of amplifying that relationship to get them to refer us to the people that they care about than we do working with other realtors that don't get it or other lenders that don't get it. I mean, if you're working with a realtor that you like, chances are they're referable, meaning they're somebody who you believe has a good character and that has great qualities, but has probably never been told or educated or taught how to be a referable communicator. This whole conversation is something that, as a realtor, you can use with your clients when you're meeting with them for the first time. It's an amazing script that you can use on both sides of the table. If I was you, I would be setting up conversations with my realtor groups going, listen, I've got a great new positioning tactic that you can use when you meet with your clients to help solidify your relationships, to help make you how to differentiate yourself from all the other agents that are shopping you. I mean, because let's be honest, I did a presentation on Friday with a bunch of realtors, and I asked 5 realtors to stand up in front of everybody, and I started with one. I said, what makes you referable? What makes you an awesome agent? By the time I got to the 3rd one, the 4th and 5th ones had nothing to say because the only requirement was they couldn't repeat the same words from somebody else. Nobody knows what to say when they're sitting in front of people. All they do is talk about themselves. This conversation you can teach to your realtor base, and if they're saying it to the client and then you're saying it to the client, what do you think happens to the client's perception of you and the agent? It's amplified.
We're on the same page, right?
Oh my gosh, you become a force to be reckoned with. Can you hold on one second, Holly? That's my wife.
Absolutely.
Hold on. Hey, babe. Yep. Yeah, I'm on the phone with Holly. Can you give me maybe 10 minutes? I'll call you right back. Okay. All right, babe. Bye-bye. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Does that make sense?
It does. I think I just have to go back and listen to this conversation over and over and over to really, because if I called an agent right now, honestly, I would stumble. If I called and said, hey, I'm learning this great new tactic and I know it, but it's going to amplify your business and blah, blah, blah.
Here.
I mean, I'm going to talk in circles.
But Holly, guess what? You hear it from me, and I've been practicing it for 20 years. How many times has the agent heard it?
Never.
One less time than you, right?
Right.
It's not about how fluid the conversation is. It's about how sincere and how genuine you are about it. And the truth is that if it resonates with you, if it makes sense to you, if you see the value in it, then that clairvoyance or that clarity comes through in your conversation with the agent. And the whole point of the conversation is it gives you a purpose to talk to them. Hey, how can I help you out? No, it's better. Hey, Mr. Agent, I've got a great tactic to help you position yourself in front of your clients, especially if you're competing against other realtors. I've got something that may give you an edge. What agent in your network isn't going to pick up the phone and go, really, Holly, what do you got? And
you're going to go, then I've got to tell them what the hell I have.
But that's the point.
I don't know. Hey, call this number. His name's Doug. He's awesome.
You're killing me.
But just remember, I sent you.
That's right.
So you need to call me back and thank me for sending you to it.
I promise you, I will get them to call you back and say thank you. Here's what you can do. Honestly, if you listen to the conversation that we're recording, go back and write down some of the notes, make them into bullet points, make them into 3 to 5 bullet points, and the way I'm talking to you with it is the same way that you should same way that you should repeat it. And then understand that your audience, I've probably said this conversation 1,000 different ways, but you hear it this way and it makes sense to you. My conversation.
So then with my referral partners, I'm basically telling them this is my tactic. This is what differentiates me from the other 3 lenders on the list you're giving.
This is your unique value
This is my USP, or
This is your USP.
Selling proposition or value, yeah,
right.
okay.
But what you're doing is you're making your unique value proposition not about you. See, everything you're talking about has not an I statement in it. It has everything to do with them. You've taken the responsibility of making it all about you, which is the worst thing you can do in sales, and now you're presenting it in a fashion that talks more about them and the result and the value that you inherently bring without telling them you care. This story, this script defines why you care. This defines why you're going to do a great job. This defines why you're a competitive professional in the marketplace. This defines your business model and why the realtors and the referral partners want to refer you, because no other lender is going to articulate the value the way that you are. Now, you're saying the same thing. The context is the same, but the content is different.
Okay.
And there's no other way to get people to see you being different, because there's only one thing that makes you and I different, Holly. We work for the same company. It's just the words that come out of my mouth are what makes me different than you.
Right.
And the only thing that's going to make you more attractive to your audience is the way in which you communicate your value, because it shows that you have clarity and conviction, and you understand what your audience needs are. That's all this is. It's not rocket science. It's just taking some of the words that you've always known that are there and just putting them in a format that allows your value to be articulated in a very short 5 to 7 minute presentation. You get the agreement from the consumer, and then you hand it off, and as long as the rest of the team buys into that concept, you have a unique culture that a client will experience, whether the process is flawless or not.
Got it. Okay. I'm just trying to wrap my head around having that conversation.
Holly, you're not going to get this. This isn't a task that you can just check off your list and we can move on to the next one. This will take you a couple conversations with me and a couple replays, and you'll probably have this, knowing you, probably by the end of next week. What you've just got to do is start having this conversation with your team. Just start going through it with them and explaining them the concept. And the more you talk about it, the more fluid it becomes. Start going after some of your agents. They don't know what it looks like any other way besides the way you say it. So talk about it with a genuineness and a sincerity, and the more you talk about it, the more it'll become comfortable, the more it'll flow, and after every one of our conversations, it'll just connect a little bit more. And when it connects, you're going to step back and go, shit, this stuff is, it resonates with people at such a level that you're like, I can't believe I wasn't doing this before.
So when I'm talking to the agents, and I know I'm making this more complicated than it has to be, and I'll go back and I'll re-listen over and over.
Yep.
So am I telling them that, it's my job to make you look good to whomever you're referring?
Your number one responsibility is to get whoever they refer to you to come back to them and say thank you. Because regardless of whether or not you do the loan or not, your number one priority is to make them, the agent, thankful that they know you. That's it. And trust me, when you say that, there's no doubt that they know you're going to be doing an awesome job for them. Because you're saying it, but you're not saying it's about me. You're not using
right.
the
And that goes to being obsessed or being average. Really, by doing that, if you're telling the agent that statement right there, you're really over-promising and setting yourself up to have to over-deliver based on just that sentence.
Say that again. Yes. Yes, I see what you're saying, yes. If you're telling them that your number one goal is to get them to come back and say thank you and to be thankful that they met you and that, that you're a partner on this, they inherently get that your number one goal is to make them look good.
Right.
You don't have to say it. They're like, oh, okay. And then you can follow it up with, can I ask you a question, Holly? Is it any of the other lenders you're working with, do they strive for that out of every transaction? Because my team and I are striving to get a current client referral out of every client you refer to us. And if we are able to do that, that means that every current client who's looking to buy a house is going to be pre-approved by us and then sent right back to you, because we always like to keep it in the family. I know that we aren't the only mousetrap out there, but does the other mousetraps you work with do this way?
Well, they're going to be like, no, and neither did you until today. I mean, that's what they're going to be like, and when did you start doing it?
That's when you can go, I had an epiphany. I exorcised the demons. I have now found the light.
Oh, well, that's what I mean. You know, that's what they're going to be like, and what happened to you?
Right. Not necessarily, but you get it. You
Yeah,
get
I
it.
get it.
It's
Okay.
fun. I mean, it truly is a fun way to communicate your value to people, and they begin to recognize why they are in business with you in the first place.
Got it. Okay. Well, if you will send me this call, then I will. Can I import, like when you email it to me, can I just open it and save it on my phone? Is that what I do?
It's a replay, so you can probably save it on your phone. It's in my YouTube page, so I'm just going to send you the link, and then you can replay it. I probably won't get a chance to send it to you till first thing in the morning. I'm going to try to convert it, but it takes some time to